All right, I'm gonna do some work on the teeth here, and and I'm gonna do some controlled drying, which means that I'm gonna let it sit out of the bag for a little bit at a time, no more than an hour. I do want some of the clay to set up, but I don't want it to become so dry that I'm gonna struggle to um, to cut through it. It's kind of a fine line of stiff but not too stiff, so I'm gonna just go slow with it. So I'm gonna just keep doing what I did with the teeth last time. Do a little smoothing here. I might just take it off of the armature. Put my sponge underneath here and work with it a little bit closer. I wonder if you can see that way a little better. I can certainly see a little bit better, even though. So I'm going to just do some smoothing. Teeth work. Maybe start on the bottom teeth. Put my little loop tool. Choose a different one. Cleaning a little bit more of that jaw area out. I'm going to look at that jaw from the side now. I'm going to take this out. I no longer am going to use that. I'm going to just work from it on the table, and I will fix this once I begin to hollow. Right now I'm just going to smooth from below. Use that sponge as a place to rest. And kind of hollow out. out some of this stuff. I'm not really hollowing out. What I'm doing is this clay is getting stiff, which is great, which is what I want it to do, but it's a little uneven back here, so I'm just using my loop tools to even up the jawline from below. I'm not changing the depth of the jaw, I'm just evening this side out, like this angle compared to this angle. And then I'll smooth it with my finger once I get it to where I'm happy. Like at this point, me telling you step by step what to do, I can't really, because yours is going to be a little bit different than mine, and we'll all have our own issues to fix, but this is the time where we kind of go over and do a lot of observation. Definitely working on that symmetry, working on that smoothing, contours. Trying to make sure one side matches the other. Do some work on the teeth here. Oh, there's a mosquito here. I really do like this roundy tool. Again, when I do the teeth, I'm not gonna do perfection this first time, right? I am just getting tooth shape. There is no such thing as perfection in teeth at this point. But I just kind of eyeball them in, or give them their form. Like I said, I was doing this before, and this one is not in the center, and like before braces, nobody's teeth were perfect anyway, so this is gonna be old school. It's a little harder back here. Just kind of, I'm gonna make some bottom lines. Just with this, I'm just making it so like the bottom of the tooth line is there, but I'm not working about so much the individual tooth because I'm gonna carve out more there. Same here, I'm gonna just kind of give myself some bottom teeth. I'm just doing this because I think it might change a little bit when I go to hollow out, uh, that those teeth lines might move around. So I just gave it a guesstimate of some teeth lines back here. Like I said, I think those are going to switch a little bit once I get going. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself one last sort of check-a-rooney, and I'm not spending a lot of time smoothing this, and that's because when I go through the hollowing process, that I am going to wreck any smoothing I do, you know? So I'm going to just take my sponges, put them back here, let it sit. And then I'm gonna let it set up for about an hour. Not very much time, about an hour. I'm gonna come back and check on it. Okay? When I come back on and check on it, I should be a little bit drier, where I can do the teeth a little bit more in the front, clean them up a little bit, check some other things, and then I'm going to do some hollowing. Hello, it's been about an hour, and I've changed locations to outside. I'm going to do some more work on the teeth and stuff. But when I hollow out or remove the paper from the inside and start making sure the clay is the right thickness for firing, it becomes real messy. So I'm doing it outside just to save my home some of the stress that it might get from having clay everywhere. Plus, it is gorgeous out, so I am using that to my advantage. And the light is nice. It's a good change of scene. You can see I've taken it off the armature. And I'm going to do some more sculpting. You could decide if you, and I'm setting this on foam, but you might not have foam. You might have an old towel, an old pillow. Any of those things would work. Bubble wrap, right? Anything that's soft can work. I just have foam because I use it a lot. You can decide in your home studio or you can decide in your finished project if you want to have the eyes solid or hollow, like, you know, going through. I know some people are like, oh, I want to put a candle in, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. So there's different reasons you might want to change some of the overall characteristics of your skull. And yeah, the answer is yes. Go ahead. Please do not change the proportions of the skull from what is human realistic. That is what I am grading on, right? So our goal is to finish this in today and the next day, which is very doable. So I'm going to just do any last minute sort of touching up, see if there's any symmetry problems, and there always are, you know, like we're not perfect. It's a work in progress. So I'm just doing any last minute sort of touching ups that I want to do to make sure that things are looking symmetrical and in place. That's the important part, is that I don't want to do this and then add more to my thing when I'm done, my overall sculpture when I'm done. I am going to add at this point, I realize I just want to change the shape of the jawline a little bit. Now mine is angled, which is good, but if you look in this jawline, there's some curvature to the jaw, and I want to, can you see what I'm doing? I want to just adjust that a little bit here in my jawline. I'm going to add that indentation here, which is right here. And you can see my teeth are still not finished, and those are optional. And then I'm going to finish that over here. I'm going to do the same thing over here, add this like a divot. And then it's just a little uneven right here on this side. So I'm going to add just a teeny bit of clay to make this side of the jaw even to that side. It just was a little funky. Again, I'm just using one of these loop tools. Whichever one you find that works for you is fine. Doesn't matter to me which one you use. I'm just really trying to make sure that this part of the jawline right here is curved in. And that it is over here as well. Okay. I am going to give it about 1 more hour of sitting up. Now, like, I can still smoosh my surface, but do you see, like, when I first started this, it would move really easy, and now it's putting up some resistance. So I'm in a pretty good spot, but I'm going to let it sit out for another just 20 minutes because I added a little bit of clay down here. And I'm just going to let it sit up just ever so slightly more so that I can oops, wrong side of the tool, because I'm going to come back in about 20 minutes and I'm going to cut off the cranium cap and I'm going to hollow it out. This is the cranium cap. So essentially I'm going to cut off the skull's top, and it's important that you do it exactly how I show you or you will not be able to get it back on. And we're going to cut it off, hollow it out. You'll want your big loop tool, and you will want your any one of the knives, really. that came in your kit. So 20 minutes to just let this last little bit that I added kind of set up a little bit. And then I'm going to come back and hollow them out. Okay, it's been 20 minutes and feeling pretty good. I'm going to cut off the cranium. I'm going to mark the cranium cap for where I want to cut it off and then start to hollow. And a lot of you be like, why are you doing that, Ms. West? Because you could just access it from here. And I could, but this doesn't give me good access for making sure that the walls of the clay are thick, the right thickness. And also, I'm going to do this when I do our clay heads. We access it from the back, and so it's really kind of important that you do it this way. So I'm going to save these crumbles that I'm taking out. This is going to be very messy, okay? I'm going to save, I'm just putting a paper towel here because my table has slots in it. So I'm putting a paper towel and I'm saving some of these crumbles. Those I'm going to save and I'm going to let them dry out, and then I'm going to put them in water to make some slip for reattaching my cranium cap. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have good access back here. So I have, in your kit, you have these 4 different types of knives. Some are serrated, which is fine, and some are not. I'm going to use the long non-serrated knife, so this one. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to just draw a circle that's big enough to get my tool in. Right here at the back of the skull. Okay? Now, I'm going to put what I call register marks. So I'm going to draw a line here and here. That means I can get it back on in the right spot by lining up those lines. Now, what I don't want to do is go like this and cut it in straight. I want to cut a bevel or an angled thing so that when I go to put this back on, it fits appropriately. So I'm holding my knife on an angle like this, not straight in and up and down like this. And then I cut through following that line and keeping the angle with my knife the best I can. Okay, and then I'm going to just pop this off. Right? See how it has that beveled angle? And it's very thick. And my paper's a little moldy in there. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on something soft. Right now I'm going to use crumpled paper towel, and I'm going to just put it on that upside down. Right? I want to put it on something soft so that it doesn't flatten this part. And now I'm going to start peeling out some of this stuff. This is where you want a garbage bin right next to you. Okay, because this gets really messy. I'm glad I'm outside because it does, you know, it's kind of gross, a little moldy. And see how I'm just pulling it out, little bits at a time. This is where I'm collecting my trash in, but you might want something bigger, it just depends. And so I just kind of, you have to be slow and kind of work it out. And you may even need a pair of scissors to clip some of your tape if you taped it really hard. Kind of gruesome, like you're pulling out the brains. pretty good. Mine came out pretty well. Now, what I have to do is start to hollow out. So I'm going to empty this into the garbage, and I'm going to use this to collect some more of my clay as I work. So let me just empty this out. Okay, now again, it's your loop tools that are going to do the job here. I'm going to work between the big ones and the small ones, but I got them all here. I need to make the clay wall to be about this much in thickness throughout the whole clay project, right? So it's about that thick. That's about 3/4 of an inch thick throughout the whole project. So I've given myself a guide here, but that means like even down here, when I pinch, it's that thick. I need it to be this thick when I'm done. So you can do this on your towel or something. So see how I'm going to just pull this clay out? You can also hold this on your lap while you're doing it. I'm going to go slow so that you don't go through the clay itself. So see now how I wish I'm starting to get it hollow to the right thickness, but I check with my fingers. Like that. I'm feeling, like I feel how that feels and make sure it feels like that all the way through. You do not want a heavy skull. What happens if they're too heavy? One, if they're too thick, they blow up in the kiln. Right? It's all about the way they dry evenly and about how much weight they have and the thickness. If they're too thick, there's a good chance there's air trapped in there or something, and you are going to blow it up. Now, can you fix it if you go all the way through? You can. You just take clay, some of the extra clay, and you put it back in from the inside. Okay, if you accidentally go too all the way through the skull, but just go nice and slow so you don't go too fast or too thick. Again, I'm going to be faster than you because I've hollowed out a lot of sculptures. If you notice it's not holding its shape, you might want to stop and let it sit up a little bit. Mine's on the edge of being a little soft. Let's see. Now I'm going to turn it over and look at the top portion. This is when it's helpful to have something squishy to set on. If you don't have something squishy, you can always work on your lap as well. Set a towel. Okay. Trying not to mess up this edge as I work too much. Now I'm going to go from the behind here, and I'm going to decide if I want to, like, I need to do the bottom of the jaw line here. It's too thick. Right here. Okay. Behind the jawline. Oops, I went through a little bit there. So I went through on this area here, but in the jaw here, it actually does go through, so I'm okay with that. Because I'm going to actually need this portion. I really check again with my fingers to make sure I'm not going too deep. Also making sure I'm not leaving it too thick. This part of the skull is uneven, so I'm gonna even it out here. There we go. Okay, I'm putting my fingers in and making sure my thickness is good. There is some area of concern here. It's a little thick, but because that is a jawline, I'm going to switch to a smaller loop tool, and I'm going to just use this smaller tool to do some detailed hollowing in the back of this jawline. Again, I'm taking some of this clay and I'm letting it sit over here to dry out, just some of these crumbles. I need them to dry out to bone dry. Then I'm going to slick them down so that they become slip. So just using my smaller loop tool here on some of the daintier areas. Now for me, I'm gonna leave the bottom part opened in the skull, and that's just because, you know, I like it like that. I'm gonna just, so essentially I'm leaving this bottom part open. I'm not sculpting back in any of this stuff. I'm just leaving it open. But I'm also looking at the shape in there so that I'm just leaving that. Okay. Ooh, skeeter. Mosquitoes have been really bad in my backyard. Just touch all those areas and make sure I've done a good job of making it even and hollow. Okay. All right. So the last thing I need to do is I need to hollow out this section. So it's the same thing. I need to leave like this much around the clay so that I have a good area to attach. So I'm just scooping out this area in here. Again, I'm not letting it warp at all. If your clay is warping, you need to stop and give it a chance to set up. Okay, so now this is hollow, but it still has a nice band around it. It has my two lines for top and bottom. I have a small amount of clay over here that I'm letting sit out to dry. Right there, just crumbles. Okay, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, see how mine's still warpy a little bit? I need to let it sit out. So I'm gonna leave it sit out for 20 minutes or so. But I'm gonna reattach this and smooth it the next class. So right now I just need to, I'm not gonna attach it, I'm just placing it on there. I'm gonna let it sit out and I'm gonna come back in 20 minutes and cover it. So that next class, when this stuff is dry, I can use it to slip it together. So I'm just letting that stuff dry. Now, what about all this clay? So you could just take this and throw it in your garbage can if you wanted. But if you're like, oh, I really like working in clay and I want to have more clay to do little side projects or other things I want to do, you can take this and wedge it back together or smush it back together and then put it in a bag for now and keep it nice and moist if it's in good shape, or sprinkle a little water on it if it's a little hard and it'll soften up. But you could save this if you wanted for other side projects. I'm not going to require that you use this clay, but it is wasting clay essentially. So like if you're like into it and you want to try something smaller on your own, this is still fine to use. Okay, so I have this. I'm going to come back in 20 minutes. I'll show you, and then I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm going to let it get a little harder. And then overnight, I'm going to let this stuff dry out. And then next time, I will make it into slip. We'll reattach our head next time, and then we'll do the last details on the skull, and it will be done. Okay, so I'm going to put this in plastic, and I'm going to be back in 20-30 minutes and wrap up. Okay, it's been a little while. I'm going to just take my skull and I am going to wrap him up. And once these bits get dry, I'm going to add them into water and make some slip, attach my skull cap on, smooth out, and call him done. Or her. I don't know. Hard to tell from a skull. So, wrapping up for the time being. I'll show you how to make slip next and put the cap back on, smooth, and be done.